Hello, welcome to Cracking the Cryptic and our Friday Masterclass. Simon has asked me to step in today, which means I get to do the 100th Friday Cryptic Masterclass, which is a bit of a milestone for us. We've been doing these for nearly 2 years, I guess, and every Friday. I mean, we did a number of crosswords before that, but this has become a regular feature on Fridays doing the Times crossword, and this is the 100th time in weekly succession that we've done it. Now, I'm doing it because Simon is playing in a golf tournament, and he is still playing in a golf tournament, despite the fact that he was expecting yesterday to get knocked out by a twice winner of that tournament. Somehow Simon actually beat him on the last hole. So he's still playing today, and we wish him very well. Intriguing. It's intriguing. He has to play. I looked at the temperature where he's playing. It's -4 degrees. Absolutely alarming. And he's due to go out not long after I'm starting to record this video. And before I'll finish the recording, that's going to be perishing cold. And I think they play in almost any conditions there, so we will see how he does. But hopefully he'll stay warm and be back with us for the crossword video next week. Now, I do have a couple of birthdays. So Sam let us know that it's her partner Ben's birthday tomorrow, and they always watch the video together and have been getting better at crosswords, which is great news. That is the whole point of this segment, and we wish Ben a very happy birthday tomorrow from us and your partner Sam. We also got a note from Tegan's boyfriend. I want to say Aaron, although I believe most people pronounce this Aaron these days, Aaron. But Tegan's birthday is coming up during the week, but they always watch the crossword videos and wanted a shout out during one of those. No problem at all. Consider yourself shouted out, Tegan. Have a very happy birthday. And we did also get a note from Owen. I'm not sure if Simon's mentioned this on the channel. He's a student at UCD, University College Dublin, and he started getting interested in cryptics from our videos, created his own for his mother, and they've published it. He is the published crossword compiler for the University College Dublin college paper now, and congratulations, Owen, very well done. My niece was at UCD until last year, but she's just missed your crossword, I'm afraid, in the college paper. Anyway, brilliant news, and let's cut out the further ado and click on the puzzle. This is the Times Cryptic number 29,122, today's puzzle in the Times. I haven't checked the snitch ratings or anything. We'll work out how hard it is as we go along. No, that's not it. What's going on there? Sorry, that's a puzzle I've done before. Let's try this again. Hopefully you weren't waiting to solve that. Basically, I haven't updated the page. That is the problem. And the Times Crossword Club website, and indeed the whole Times website, is notoriously slow. So just give me a second while it refreshes. There we go. Times Cryptic number 29123. So you got a brief glimpse of yesterday's solution there, and hopefully it doesn't spoil that puzzle for you. Right, one across. Surviving letter to the Corinthians that's unknown within New Testament. Well, New Testament is very blatantly always NT, often included as book or books. Surviving letter to the Corinthians, that's can sometimes become i.e. id est. Unknown is very often X or Y or Z because they're unknowns in algebra. Surviving, okay, surviving can be extant. So I think that is probably the answer. It's got an X in it, which is the unknown, and it's got an NT. Yes, so the letter to the Corinthians, I would call it eta. I think Americans pronounce that eta. And that has X within it. So translate unknown as X, New Testament as NT, and letter to the Corinthians as eta. And eta has X within it, and then we see NT, and we get extant, which means surviving. That's quite a tough start, I think. Now, one down. I'm always going to be using letters once I get them in the grid, because my mind very much works better when it's got a little prompt. So one down. One of the horses departs after stock's reduced. So we're looking for something to do with horse. We're looking for something to do with stock, because those aren't words that can be acting as instructions within the clue. They have to be doing some sort of job. Now, departs, that can be reduced to a D. I presume that's from train timetables. So D could come after the reduction of a word meaning stock. So that's probably losing one letter off the end of it. I mean, it pretty much has to be. And if you think of stock as a verb, meaning you stock something so that you can use it, you might think of the word equip, which I think can be defined as to stock. Now, if we shorten equip, well, we've got that eq beginning, like equine and equestrian, which means horses. And we're left with equid, which you may or may not know can indeed be both a noun and an adjective for a horse or like a horse. So that is the answer at one down. Let's have a look at this short one beginning with a D, 12 across. Short is a good way to start because there are the possibilities are greatly reduced for what can come after the D. Take in room in hospital round. Take in room in hospital round is what we're meant to read that as. So we include or look at a room while we're doing a round of a hospital. But the way that the cryptic reading here is going, we look at room in hospital and turn it round, and that leaves us with something that can be defined as take in. So the room in a hospital, actually, that's not too difficult. There's really only one word, I think, for a room in a hospital, and that's ward, or certainly a room that admits multiple patients. Anyway, if we turn that round, we get a genuine word, draw. And take in, how does draw get defined as take in? I think that's to do with breath. If you draw breath, you take in breath. So that is, I think, the specific definition of draw that we're looking at there. I'm also now going to look at the four-letter word beginning with a letter that I've got from 3 down. So N at the beginning. Service vehicle pulled up on side of motorway. Well, the way I've read that, I'm seeing vehicle, or indeed service vehicle, and I did look at service vehicle and think, well, a van is a sort of service vehicle. And if you pull that up, you've got NAV. Now, what side of motorway? Let's just use the word motorway, not consider the concept of a large road. And one side of it is M and the other side of it is Y. So if you turn up your van, NAV, on Y, you get navy. And now I realise that service is defining navy. It's not part of the definition of van, which is just vehicle. But it gets us the answer, and that's the important thing. 10 across. Take apart a French composer. Well, again, you see, I see French composer, and I've got a V in the answer. And I did immediately think of Ravel. Now, this takes me back in the days when I was doing French A-level, maybe even O-level. I did a report on French composers. I can't remember why. It was, I think you had to choose a topic and write in French about it. And at that time, I basically learned that there were 6 or 7 French composers that I needed to know. And I think they included Bizet and Gounod and Poulenc and Saint-Saëns. And they definitely included Maurice Ravel, who composed the bolero that Torval and Dean danced to in Sarajevo in 1984. Anyway, Ravel is very useful here because the only way to fit Ravel into this is unravel. A French is actually giving us un. It didn't matter. The word composer is what's giving us Ravel in the answer. It didn't matter that he was French, as it turns out, but it got me to the answer, and I will take any crutch I can. So to take apart there is unravel, or unravel, as the wordplay has it. Right, 2 down, T something R something A. So there are a number of words that could fit that. Turnabout, termagant is a popular word. I haven't looked at the clue yet. Termagant is a popular word in crosswords for reasons, probably just because it's a funny word about a kind of battle axe woman. Let's see what we get. Seafarer with an apostolic brief. That may help him weather the storm. You see, that's very interesting because yet again, for the third clue in a row, something in the clue is helping me, even though it's actually irrelevant within the clue grammar. So a seafarer, I see T something R and I'm immediately thinking of a tar as a sailor, and that's absolutely possible. But a seafarer with an apostolic brief, so that means like an apostle, or doing something an apostle would do. And of course, St. Paul of Tarsus, originally known as Saul, but he became Paul, if I've got the right fella. Anyway, he did all the seafaring around the Mediterranean, bringing the early word of Jesus around and writing lots of the letters in the Bible. So Paul comes to mind because it says a seafarer who's apostolic. And that gives me tarpaulin. And of course that would help a sailor weather the storm. Apostolic there is Pauline, which means of or relating to St. Paul. And that is brief because it's lost the last letter. So the seafarer is just doing the job of tar. Apostolic, briefly, is Pauline, becoming Pauline. And that gives us a tarpaulin, which is a kind of canvas sheet that can be drawn over something like a boat to protect it. And there we go, tarpaulin. Right, where shall we go next? Shall we go to 9 or 18 across? Or even 15 across? Let's do 9 down. The trouble with doing these short words and confining ourselves to the corner is we've only got one letter in any word coming out of this little corner. But there we go. 9 down. Heartlessly knock down powerless friend, no longer buddy. Right. I do think I get that, but it's complicated. So heartlessly looks like wordplay. It looks like we're taking the heart out of something. So I'm probably looking at the other end of the clue for the definition. But the other end of the clue is no longer buddy, which either implies an ex-friend or there's some sort of pun going on because of the question mark. And I think that is what is happening here. So the first thing that got me going in this clue was powerless friend. Now, there are a few words for friend that are very common in crosswords. We're always looking for short synonyms. Do remember that as a useful tip. So I was thinking about things like mate, China, but especially, bud also, and we'll come back to that. But also pal. And pal has a P in it. P is the physics abbreviation for power. So if you remove the P from pal, you're left with al. And al is a very common word ending, and if the definition is coming after that, this is probably the end of the word. So what could no longer buddy, question mark, be that ends in al? Well, not many words fit this pattern. I thought of global first, but then I thought of floral. And if something is no longer in bud, it has flowered. So it's a little pun on bud, which can't really be expanded into an adjective of buddy. But that is what it's about. It's a botanical thing. Now, why does F-L-O-R give heartlessly knock down? Because if you floor someone, F-L-O-O-R, you knock them down. And if you take out the heart of that, you're left with F-L-O-R. So the answer there is floral. Now that gives us a word at 15 across with 2 L's in different parts of it. Very hard for me to guess what my hillbilly would fit that. But let's see what 15 across says. Better half of pop song, a hit in language of Southwest India. Now, I think I know the answer. There is a language in the subcontinent. I have on a crossword video before said, yes, I know this answer because it's the longest single word palindrome in the dictionary. And it's clearly a language in Malaysia. And the answer is Malayalam. And I was just fooled into thinking it was a language in Malaysia because it's got Malay in it. But it's not. It's a language of India. People did correct me at the time. So I think the answer is Malayalam. I don't know what the better half of pop song a hit is. I think we're just breaking up the word into Ma-lay-a-lam. Sort of feels like a bit like What Bopaloo, but that's nothing to do with the pop song. I think better half is Ma. That's your partner, It's a bit dubious because better half means at best a wife and Ma means at best a mother. But I think they're being equated, a wife and a mother being equated as the same sort of thing. Now, there might be another solution, another explanation of why better half is giving Ma, but I think mother and wife are being equated there. A pop song, oh, better half of pop. Oh, I see. So pop is a name for dad. And in fact, in the Darling Buds of May book by H.E. Bates, the two protagonists in the family are Pop and Ma Larkin. So the better half of pop is Ma, then song is lay, and then a hit is a and lamb, and we are breaking down Malayalam into 4 separate parts, and not for once in a crossword using its palindromic qualities. Amazing. Right, let's have a look at 15 down, beginning with an M. Scots are unaware of packages Southern Post Office delivered in error. Well, they would be unaware because they'd have stayed in the south. So Scots looks like a qualifier to me. It looks like it's saying that we're looking for a word, probably as the solution, to be a word used in Scottish English or by Scots for are unaware of. That's tricky because I find it hard to envision Scottish words without knowing them immediately. Scots are unaware of, misknow or something. Packages, Southern Post Office. No, hang on. Packages looks like a container indicator. So whatever this word for are unaware of in Scottish is packaging or enclosing, S for Southern and PO for post office. So it feels like misposted is a word, but that would leave misted to mean Scots are unaware of, and I don't think that's right. But miss PO feels very likely to be how this word begins. I'm almost tempted to write those letters in. I don't know how it ends though, so if you can think of a 9-letter word beginning miss PO that's not misposted but still could mean delivered in error. Oh, misspoken. Wow, yeah, okay, so that's delivered in a different sense. It's not to do with the post office and post, which is good because you don't want the duplication of post in the clue and post in the answer. But if you deliver something from your mouth, if you deliver an address, you may misspeak it and you may have misspoken it. Now that will require misken to be a Scottish word, not the Scottish word, a Scottish word for are unaware of. To ken is to know in Scottish. I ken that. So misken must be to not know something, which is surprising to me, but quite possible. Okay, let's have a look at 18 across. We've got an S and an N. First light turning ornamental cherry tree leaves red to begin with. I'm reading that like the crossword clue. I should read it like this surface reading. First light turning ornamental cherry tree leaves red to begin with, which is a lovely image. Now, first light, sun, I'm thinking because of this SN. Sun up. But is that a 5-letter word or is it 3-2? It is dawn, it is first light, so it's probably the answer. Now, ornamental turning. So I'm looking at the rest of the clue to turn something. And P-U-N-U-S reminds me of prunus, which I think is the Latin name for a type of tree. And I know it's not actually a prune tree despite the name. I didn't know it was a cherry tree, but I believe it is. So how are we getting to remove R from prunus? Well, we're leaving or abandoning or dismissing R, which is red to begin with, from prunus, which is turning, and then we get sun up. Okay, 14 down with a Y and a P. Now, I can't think of anything that fits that immediately, but it's probably got some sort of Greek root. Person orchestrating hypnotism set to start with suspect. So hypnotism also has Y and P, and it's 9 letters long, and we're looking for a 10-letter answer. So we need one more letter if we're going to do some sort of anagramming. And we haven't had many anagrams so far, so it's about time. Have we had any? Don't think so at this point. Interesting. Right, set to start with. Looks like it might be giving us the letter S. And suspect, if we pronounce it suspect and we consider it as an adjective, is suggesting that the letters of hypnotism and S have to be rearranged. They're in some sort of suspect order. So then we get a definition of person orchestrating. And I'm not going to pretend I definitely knew this was a word before, but I can see that it's an anagram of hypnotism S. And it is symphonist, which I presume is someone writing a symphony, and therefore a person orchestrating. That seems reasonable. Right, let's try 21 across. Possibly flyers getting new blue cape. Nice idea for Superman. He might be a flyer, possibly getting a new blue cape. But I think here we're looking at a different meaning of flyer, which is one where it's a kind of leaflet handed out to promote something. And promote is the key word there. So that can also be called a promo. So think about promo at the beginning of this word. New can often be translated to N. Then I'm noticing that cape. Cape has a lot of meanings. It's not just Superman's cape and heroes wear capes. There's also capes which are geographical features, and they tend to be headlands, which are also in crossword terms nesses or promontories. So promontory, which is spelt promo-n-tory, is a very plausible answer here. It needs Tory to mean blue, and those are both synonyms for conservative, of the Conservative Party in Britain. They're also called Tories, and they're also called blues because that is their main colour. So that's the answer there. 26 across. Bats vanish after entrance of knight errant. Well, I said a moment ago we hadn't had many anagrams, but bats. Obviously, in the surface reading of the clue, we're thinking about the flying mammals, but bats can mean crazy, so it can mean an anagram indicator. Now, how can we get an anagram of vanish into this? Well, we can put it after the entrance or first letter of knight, which is a K, to give us a word meaning errant, which is knavish. Now, I would have thought knavish meant badly behaved or cruel, but I suppose that can be errant as well. So it's a very neat repurposing of the phrase knight errant. That's a lift and separate where you take it out of the clue and you split it up into the K that was the entrance of knight and errant being the definition. Right, 22 down. Primate managed to intercede in self-inflicted blunder. Primate can mean a very senior cleric in the church, but it can also, of course, and almost always does in crosswords, mean some sort of ape or monkey because they are the primates. And there are many words for those, and many of them turn up in crosswords. One of the more useful ones is the 5-letter one, and O something A may tell you this is likely to be orang, which is obviously one variant of orangutan, which I think means man of the woods in Indonesian language. Anyway, how are we getting orang out of the wordplay here? Managed, ran. If you managed a team, you ran it. And that's interceding or getting placed in OG. Why is that a self-inflicted blunder? That is from soccer or football, where an OG is short for an own goal. which is a goal you score in your own net and thus give the opposition a goal. A self-inflicted blunder. Right, 28 across. Worthless loco finally retired from sweet old railway. Well, how is your English vocabulary? There is a word for worthless that fits here. And it's not negative or negatory. Not even sure if negatory is a word except on CB radio. But it is nugatory, and that means of very little value. Now, how are we getting nugatory from, actually, is it nugatory? I don't know how to pronounce that. It's probably nugatory, of nugatory value. How are we getting that from loco finally retired from sweet old railway? Loco finally is giving us the letter O. We're retiring that or removing it from nougat, which is a sweet and part of Mars bars, for instance. That's giving us nougat. Then we've got O for old, standard crossword abbreviation, RY for railway, which is a known abbreviation, probably from Ordnance Survey maps, and that is the answer. Right, 19 down. So we've done half the puzzle pretty much here. We've done the left half. We've got the right half to do now. I think maybe I can consider I've done the left half when I've done this answer. Monsieur visiting his dear one who perhaps arranged their meeting. Well, monsieur is often the letter M, and visiting often means going inside. It's a container indicator, but you can't really fit M into anywhere in the middle of this structure with T, H and R. However, his dear one is Cher, not because monsieur is a big fan of the pop singer Cher, but because it is the French for either dear or my dear. And who would have arranged the meeting between monsieur and his Cher? Well, that would be a matcher. So it's M at Cher. Monsieur is at the home of Cher. Typical French behaviour. Right, 19 across. Retired fireman working with a special buzzer on the wall. Now, retired fireman, and we've got M. My mind immediately goes to Fireman Sam. So I'm thinking of turning him backwards to retire him, and that will give us M-A-S, mass, at the start of this. Working can be on, so that's made up the first word to mason, and I think that's going to be right. Now, I don't know what the rest of the answer is. A special buzzer on the wall. Buzzer sometimes translates to bee. Is there a mason bee or even a mason wasp which builds an elaborate nest? Ah, yes, with a special are not part of any definition. They're all wordplay bits. With translates to W, which happens occasionally. A is just A, and special can be abbreviated to SP. So there is an insect called a mason wasp. I think they build elaborate paper nests. On the wall, buzzer on the wall is the definition. I suppose because the mason wasp is defined by its nest, which it makes on the wall, is all I've really got going on there. Okay, I've got one word now to get me into the right side with two check letters, and that's 20 down. S something R at the beginning of this. Pomeranian dog, quaffing river spray. Quaffing is a very odd word to choose. It's kind of used to mean drinking, but only in kind of faux literary senses. I'd very rarely talk about a dog quaffing anything in real life. However, let's not worry too much about that. I think what we're looking at here is a 5-letter word for a Pomeranian dog beginning with S, and it's going to drink in the letter R for river. And the whole thing is going to mean spray. Now, what is a Pomeranian dog? And do I know dog breeds with 5 letters? Probably begins SP or ST. I think there's something called a Spitz, which might be short for something longer. but it's not one of the dog breeds I was familiar with when I learnt dog breeds once off a poster we used to have at my house when I was growing up. But I think if we assume Spitz, we could put in Spritz, and a spritz is both a drink, I think, or is that a spritzer? Or it's to spray little mist of water. So spritz is spray. I think that must be the right answer. I'm not wildly confident about either aspect, but I'm pretty confident overall. Both are close enough that must be right. 27 across. Elation about little piggy's growth. Well, I think here we're getting our third anagram of the day. Elation is a very useful collection of letters. You see it in Countdown quite a bit. And there is one anagram of elation that is toenail. And since we've got the T beginning a 7-letter word, that looks quite plausible. Now, this requires about to be the anagram indicator, and that's okay. You don't often see about as an anagram indicator, but if the letters have moved about, elation does become toenail. Why is that little piggy's growth? Because it is a growth on a toe, which is sometimes a little piggy. You're probably familiar with this little piggy's gone to market when you're counting out a child's toes. Okay, where shall we go? Let's try and get this bottom right corner done. 24 down. One of several sharp nails left alongside fences. Well, Simon tells us that there's almost always a hidden answer, and we found it this time. So fences in this word is acting as a word meaning that something is fencing something in, and the something is left alongside. That is fencing in the answer or concealing it. And one of several sharp nails on a bird's claw is a talon. And that you'll find that word hidden inside, left alongside. Let's have a look at 25 down. Deride Junior ingesting double dose of ecstasy. Well, ecstasy can be abbreviated in the sense of the drug to E. Junior can be abbreviated to JR. So if we put a double dose of E into JR, we get jeer, which does mean to deride. The fact that we've found a J and a Z next to each other, and earlier we had a Q and an X, suggests very strongly to me that we're looking at a pangram in this puzzle. All the letters will be used in it, at least once each. We've basically only done just over half the puzzle, and I wonder which letters we haven't found yet, if any. B, I think we're going to be due to find a B. I can see C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U. Have we had a V? Yes. W? Yes. X, Y, and Z. So B is the only letter missing so far. And here we are at 29 down. British School of Language in Wren. Well, British is often abbreviated to either B or BR. So very likely to be a BR. School, even American crossword solvers will be familiar with a British school that constantly crops up. Eton, and that leaves us with Breton, which means, well, it is a language. I wouldn't have known necessarily where Rennes was, but let's assume it's in the Breton area of France. Now, I was going to equate Breton with Bretagne, which is Brittany, and I probably think that's fair, although I'm not 100% sure about that. Anyway, let's have a quick look at 23 down before we try 23 across, before we try 17 down. Let's try speaking. Right, 23 across. Leave hastily from self-catering apartment on vacation. Well, self-catering can be abbreviated to SC. I've seen that before. Now, on vacation is one of those words that is brilliant for crossword, or one of those phrases that's brilliant for crossword constructors, because it seems to mean something very different from what it can mean. And what it can mean in a crossword clue is that you vacate a word by removing its middle. And if you do that to apartment, you're left with AT. So if we put that after self-catering, we get scat. And scat is something that you say, at least in British English, to mean scram, get out of here, leave hastily. Okay, so 17 down, we've got lots of stuff in this. The know-how to drive land yacht. Well, looking at that ending, C something, A something, T, I'm thinking craft. And that is a know-how. If you have some sort of craft like witchcraft or swordcraft, you're good with something. However, I don't actually know what the answer here is. Boatcraft would fit, but I don't know that's a word. The yacht, the yacht can be the craft, I suppose, as well. So the know how to drive, is it? So I think the know how to drive is the definition. But I don't know what sort of craft that is. And then land can define the first four letters, and yacht can question mark, i.e. yacht is one example of a craft. So I don't know how that begins. We will have to find out. But 8 down is 9 letters ending in P. So there aren't that many words that will fit this. Eavesdrop, unlikely with the V where it is. Let's have a look. Baseball infielders, 2 items of clothing. Unlike many British people, I know my baseball positions, and I know that the infielders are first base, second base, third base, and shortstop. And that gives us shorts and a top, which a baseball player, at least in a pickup game, might well be wearing. So it's a very neat clue. Now, 16 across. French oil producer having Renault's front end checked by dipstick, which is a very specific way to check your oil in a car. However, dipstick is also a brilliant metaphor for somebody stupid. So I think we're looking for R being Renault's front end, being contained by a 4-letter word or checked by it for idiot. Twit would fit, but that would give us twirt. Dolt. The trouble with dipstick and idiot is there's a lot of words for those. Daft. That would give us draft, which is a word, but probably not a French oil producer. So I don't actually know what's going on here. A French word would be beret, and that would have R in the middle of beat. R there in 17 down would be quite good. Roadcraft. That might be the know how to drive. But on the other hand, why is land road? Oh, a land yacht might go on the road. Is there such a thing as a land yacht? Wow, okay, I'm really not sure. I think that is a plausible R there, because we need R to go into 16 across. And I think roadcraft could be the answer to 17 down. And if that is an R, it will be the answer. But I don't actually know what the word at 16 across is. An oil producer might be a painter, of course, Monet or Manet. Now, they won't fit. Who Surat or Corot? Right, Corot I have thought of as a French painter. I'm pretty sure that is one of the French Impressionists. Now, that has R checked by coot. And a coot is a black bird, but also I think you can talk about an old person being an old coot, but I think that's also a bit derogatory, because coot, you can also talk about a crazy coot. Maybe even crazy as a coot, meaning somebody silly. So there we go. So I'm going with roadcraft and Corot now. That's a difficult section. Right, let's have a look at 6 down. Pants erupt with smell becoming foul. So pants itself can be an anagram indicator because it can be used as an adjective meaning rubbish. Erupt could almost be an anagram indicator. But foul could be an anagram indicator. And this is a 10-letter answer. So 2 5-letter words. We have pants, erupt and smell, all at 5 letters in the clue. But not one of them has a C in. So I don't think that's what we are looking for. So becoming is probably a link word suggesting that the whole answer means foul. And there's a lot of adjectives ending in C-N-T, significant and indecent and iridescent and so on. But I don't know what's going on there. Are we looking at any anagrams? Partial anagrams? Oh, smell could be scent at the end of the answer. That's very likely. So an anagram of either pants or erupt. Let's go with an anagram of erupt and say it's putrescent, which really does mean foul. If something is putrefied, it's gone putrid. It's disgusting and foul. That was quite a difficult one. Right, 4 across. Cat chased by dogs, possibly very fast ones. So there I was thinking about puss for cats, but it doesn't really fit into this. The P and the S are one letter too far apart to make that usefully sourpuss or anything. So dogs that might be very fast. Well, whippets are famously as fast as greyhounds and raced in the north of England. So how would that be? Yes, okay, a whip is a cat. Now that is not in the sense of a pet, but the cat o' nine tails was a lash on a ship, and it's sometimes abbreviated to just the cat, and that is a whip. So cat is whip, dogs possibly is pets, and very fast ones refers back to the dogs and makes it whippets, which is a very neat clue again. Okay, 5 down, beginning with H, ending with M. Husband may put up with pony for a term, e.g. pony as horse. You see, what's going on here is husband can be H. We probably know that. I have a feeling the answer might be hyponym, but I don't know quite what that means. It could be defined here as a term, for example, pony as horse, where pony is used to mean horse, as in, are you playing the ponies, or are you going to watch the ponies, meaning the horses? But there might be a word for the use of a kind of diminutive as a name for something bigger, which is what's going on there. And that word might be hyponym. The letters of pony are involved here. Yes, so we're putting up the word may as yam, but we're replacing a with pony for a. It says so very specifically in the clue. That is the substitution indication. So it's H, and then may put upwards with pony instead of a, and that does give you hyponym, and I've had to deduce the meaning of that from the clue, but that's fine. Every day is a school day when you're doing a cryptic. Right, small marsupial, droppings collected round hill. Well, I remember from my study of mammals years ago that there is such a thing called a potteroo in Australia, which is a small marsupial. I'm pretty sure that was spelt with all O's, P-O-T-O-R-O-O. Droppings is poo, and that is collecting round, which gives O because it's a round, and tor, which is a hill, like Glastonbury Tor. And that is the answer, potteroo. Right, 13 across. Orange would fit that first segment, but so would France or fringe. Let's have a look at the clue. Parisian is by mountains in Australia in colourful outer layer. Well, Parisian is est. Or it's not pronounced est in Paris, it's pronounced e. But the Parisian for he is il est, E-S-T. Colourful outer layer, so I'm guessing that's orange zest, which I might not have put together as a single dictionary phrase, but there we go. And that gives us range for mountains in OZ, Oz, for Australia, its nickname. And that is right, orange zest. So we got another Z into the puzzle. I don't think this is a puzzle with 2 of each letter in it, but it is definitely a pangram since we found that B. And we're left with 7 down. Inaccessible place for brooding heroine touring India. Right, well, I think the definition here is inaccessible place for brooding, and that is because it's a nest in a different, like at the top of a cliff, and those are called, eagles' nests are called Aries or Iries, and one of the spellings of that is Eyrie. So the heroine here is Jane Eyre in the Bronte novel, and she is touring I, which is in the NATO phonetic alphabet is represented by India. So we get Eyrie or Irie. I don't know how it's pronounced really, both ways I imagine. And there we go. I think that is the answer, and I'm going to submit it and see if we get marked correct. And I'm very confident, to be honest. Yeah, there we go. So no pink letters showing we were wrong. Can we not see the leaderboard? So let's have a quick look at that. We've got Verlaine, did this in 6 minutes 24. I was thinking this was and Andy Fisher, AFIS 99, 8 minutes 51. You can discount Henry Wyatt, PNMCG, and Solver 52, who are all fakers, who just solve it on paper and then fill it in. All the other times are probably very genuine. And so for Verlaine to do this in 6:24 suggests it's kind of medium difficulty, slightly harder than the average daily crossword, but probably easier than most Fridays. So I think that's about where this was pitched. And the fact that as I went through the puzzle, I think apart from roadcraft, I didn't have to come back to a clue later, suggested to me as we were going along that it wasn't too difficult for a Friday. So thanks to Simon for leaving me with one that was manageable today. Now, on the channel, you may have seen that a video went up of me solving a Sudoku at midnight our time. That was a mistake. That was meant to be tonight's video that was going up at 11 p.m. because I must have set the time, well, I must have not set the time, but set the date correctly. And unfortunately, it then chooses the first possible time. So you probably won't see me again today because that was my video for the day. But there it is. That's the way it goes sometimes. Mistakes happen. But luckily they didn't in this puzzle. So I hope you enjoyed solving the crossword. Well done if you got those answers before me, or before I said them at least. And good luck in your crossword endeavours in the future. And good luck to Simon in his golf. Absolutely that. But I'm sure it'll be Simon next Friday. He'll see you again for another masterclass. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.